This is the In Focus podcast from The Hindu.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the In Focus podcast. I'm your host, G. Sampath. The All India Trinamool Congress has brought to public notice cases of voters in other states having epic numbers matching those of voters in West Bengal. Now, the elector photo identity card or epic card has a unique number, and the fact that it is unique to a particular voter is critical to avoid voter impersonation or voter fraud or other kinds of fraud. Now, the Election Commission has attributed this duplication of epic numbers to a manual, decentralized system of allotting epic numbers, which used to happen apparently before the current electoral database platform called ERONET came into being. But the Trinamool Congress and other critics are not convinced by this explanation. Also, according to the Election Commission's own manual, epic numbers can only be issued online, number one. And secondly, epic numbers can only be issued to somebody who is on the electoral roll of a given assembly constituency. So how then does a voter in Haryana or Gujarat have the same epic number as some voter in West Bengal, given that they are clearly living in two different assembly constituencies, number one. And number two, they could not be issued anything manually at all according to the EC's own guidelines. So how serious is this problem of duplicate epic numbers? What is the TMC seeking in terms of an investigation? What kind of an investigation do they want? And how fair and robust is our existing system for registering new voters and deleting voters from the electoral rolls? We unpack this raging controversy in this episode of In Focus. And we have with us Mr. M.G. Devasahayam, Coordinator, Citizens Commission on Elections. So, Mr. Devasahayam, thank you so much for joining us today. So, to start with, I was just wondering, what your initial thoughts on this entire question of epic numbers getting duplicated. The Trinamool Congress has said that this is an attempt to sort of bring in voters from outside the state and doctor the elections in Bengal, the assembly elections, which are likely to happen next year in March. So what exactly are these epic numbers and how are they generated in the first place? Are they linked to a voter's personal details so that by definition they have to be unique? Or are they randomly generated alphanumeric sequences which are then assigned to a particular voter? How does this thing work?
You see, actually, the issue raised in West Bengal would not have become a big issue, but for a huge credibility issue that has cropped up as far as the Election Commission is concerned. Unfortunately, I have been interacting with the Election Commission since T.S. Krishnamurthy was Election Commissioner in 2004. That means about 20 years now. I find a major transformation in the Election Commission. Starting from 2017, 2018, this became a kind of a secret kind of enclave. Something like a Knight Templar, a secret service. Everything is secret. Nothing is, no interaction in the outside world, no interaction with the experts, no interaction with civil society, no interaction with political parties. They just put up some FAQ. They print beautiful manuals, mesmerizing manuals, put up lengthy FAQs, that's all. They will not answer a question, they will not give a clarification, and they will not give a guarantee that what is written in the manual or these instructions are followed. And our experience is 90% it is not followed. So there's a huge credibility crisis. Now coming to the specific question, West Bengal has issued the question of fake epic numbers.
We don't know if they have said fake epic numbers. They have said duplicate epic numbers.
Duplicate. I think duplicate is the word. Actually, the duplicate is the word issued those who have lost the epic card. Duplicate card is issued. Actually, that is the correct word for duplicate. This is not duplicate. If you have lost your epic card, if you apply, they will issue a card which is called duplicate card. They will not call it. So this we should call it, for difference sake, this fake card. Now, this issue is not the only issue as far as electoral roll is concerned. There have been huge issues concerning deletion and addition of votes, selected targeting of votes. This has been going on, and I was a petitioner to the Supreme Court actually in 2022. This arbitrary deletion and addition of the votes became a big issue. There is a provision in Rule 18 of the electoral registration rules which gives arbitrary powers to the electoral registration officer. They can just delete at will. No need for giving notice. No mandatory provision. If he wants to issue notice, he will issue notice. So I challenged it along with some of my colleagues in the Supreme Court. Supreme Court took an undertaking from the Election Commission and allowed the unconstitutional. They said it is unconstitutional, allowed it to continue. Supreme Court gave a very damaging order, taking a letter of the Election Commission of India and allowed an unconstitutional rule to stay in the statute book. Now, nobody follows it. You see, India is a huge country. Election machinery is a massive kind of affair. So 90% of the manuals and FAQs are not followed in the field. That is why these kind of issues come up. Coming to the next question, what is this epic? This is alphanumerical number allotted purely based on electoral roll. The base is electoral roll. Unless your name is in the electoral roll, you will not be issued epic number, epic card. Now, secondly, very stringent. Epic cards were introduced something in the late 90s. And over a period of time, it was refined and refined and refined and refined. Okay, changed its form, became plastic card. I don't want to go into details. But the concept of epic card came in the late 90s. I think soon after, during Sessions time, if I remember. But it was all refined. But the two conditions are absolutely very stringent. One is, unless the name is on the electoral roll, no epic will be issued. Two, epic will be issued only online, no offline, no manual epic, no manual epic. If Election Commissioner said that, they are telling a lie. Then computerization has taken place for the last 20 years. Electoral roll has been computerized. So anything that has been generated must be through a computerized system, which is in the electoral roll, which is alphanumerical, and which has to be generated only through a online. How can there be such a fake unless it is being done intentionally? This is my response.
Right. So you're saying, sir, that epic number can only be issued online. It cannot be done manually. Is that what you're saying?
No, prohibited.
So then this entire release which the Election Commission has put out on Sunday saying that, this duplication of epic numbers is because it was done in a decentralized manual manner. Is that like what? Is that not correct?
No, unless there has been a major breakdown of the Election Commission, this could not happen. Then let them admit that. See, that's what this fellow O'Brien has said. You have admitted it, but you're not accepting it. You see, what they say is right. There has been a major breakdown of the entire system at some point of time. So they had to resort to manual. That is even more serious actually. They must come out clean.
Okay, so you are saying there must be some kind of a breakdown of the computerized system for the Election Commission to resort to something manual. And if this has happened, they should have been upfront about it. That did not happen. And yeah,
if that has happened, there is violating of the rules. Rule doesn't allow that.
Okay.
Rule is very clear. Let me read out two provisions in the manual that will make things clear. Epic is issued, every epic is issued under a unique epic number. Epic number is an alphanumeric string with 3 alphabetical codes followed by 7-digit number, while the first 3 alphabetical codes called the functional unique serial number FUSN code is unique for every assembly constituency. So unique for every assembly constituency and is provided by the Election Commission. The numeric code that follows the FUSN code is a 6-digit running serial number followed by 1-digit checksum, making a total of 7 digits. Now, next one I'll tell you. EPIC is to be made only from electoral roll database. I don't want to read the details. Next, EPIC to be made only online. Let me read that. EPIC must be made only online by connecting to the electoral roll database. Under no circumstances, EPIC will be made offline. This is the provision.
Right. So, sir, so when the election commission is saying that this epic number duplication has happened because it was done manually, so then that is a breaking. That means it has broken its own norms and rules. Number one. Number two, if the rules say that only somebody whose name is on the electoral roll can be issued an epic number, how come somebody who is in Haryana, who is not clearly in the electoral roll of Murshidabad or wherever in Bengal, how come that person got an epic number which is the same as that of somebody in Bengal? That person is not in the electoral roll in Bengal. How did that happen?
You've asked a specific question. I think you should understand it only if I give you a certain background. Unless the background is given, because I have been watching the electoral scene very, very closely and the behavior of the election commission for the last several years. See, there is a major problem with India's election system based on EVM. EVM was brought in to make everything efficient. Okay.
Sir, EVM is beyond the scope of this particular podcast.
No. There is a linkage. Unless you with electoral roll without EVM is meaningless. Electoral system, it's meaningless. See, it's a bunch of papers. That's all. What's the purpose of electoral roll? It's just a bunch of paper, unless it's part of the electoral system. See, VVPAT was brought in to bring about transparency, to bring about verifiability, auditability. They killed it. VVPAT was killed. No cross-verification, no counting of the paper slip. So when you have ensured that EVM has been made totally non-transparent, EVM is not auditable, EVM is not verifiable, you could do any amount of spurious injection of votes. Only when there is a scope for spurious injection of votes, there is an incentive for manipulating the electoral roll. Otherwise, why should you? See, during our time also, I have conducted elections 50 years ago. There used to be petty manipulations. Minor mistakes used to happen, minor manipulation, but petty, very minor scale.
No, I mean, you can have an electoral roll manipulation even with paper ballots, right? You don't need an EVM for that.
But it can be a very small scale only. The manipulation can be only very small scale. It can't be done large scale. You will be caught by the neck.
How does EVM enable large scale manipulation of electoral?
Yeah, that's why I said large scale EVM is now facilitating large scale spurious injection of votes. See, I now link it to the next one. As you know, there was a big controversy that started immediately after the Lok Sabha election. The padding up of polling voting data after the polling is over, up to 12%. Orissa it was 12%, Andhra 12%, Maharashtra 8%, Haryana 7%, even Tamil Nadu was 7%. We started questioning it. We examined it. How this padding is taking place. After the polling is over, 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock. Some states it was 1%. So when we did the study, we found this padding is responsible for abnormal increase in seat won by a particular party. Lok Sabha 79. We looked at 79. Maharashtra was also running into, I think, about 50, 60. I'm not very clear. See, there is a padding going on. And when we asked the election commission, how did these additional numbers came? It should be not more than 1%. How can it go up to 12%, 8%? They will not reply. They will just not reply. So the point I am making is there is a linkage between this is possible only in EVM. Manual it's not possible. Large scale is not possible. Very small scale. That's the reason why. Otherwise, there is no incentive for manipulating the electoral roll. Electoral roll manipulation is taking place because large-scale manipulation of EVM is possible.
Because the counting is electronic and it's not transparent.
Counting is electronic and there is no verifiability. There is no cross-verification with the paper ballot, paper slip. Though paper slip is the real vote.
Right.
Election Commission killed it. Election Commission deliberately killed it. There's a linkage to the whole system. That's the problem.
Right. Coming back to this epic issue, which is the current issue, sir. Now the Election Commission has responded to this entire release this data put out by the Trinamool Congress of voters in different states having identical epic numbers by saying that even though the epic numbers may be identical, other demographic details such as address and assembly constituency and polling booth are different for voters, even those voters having the same epic number. So a voter can only vote in their designated polling station in their own constituency, and Haryana voter cannot come and vote in Bengal. So do you find this explanation convincing enough as to how fake voting cannot happen with identical epic numbers?
It's a joke. It's a joke. How could Election Commission come out with this? See, you compare it with a vehicle with an identical number. Same ditto number running in Delhi, running in Chennai. Let's see. The Chennai fellow knocks down somebody and kills somebody, goes away. And somebody is able to see the number of the vehicle. They will note down the vehicle number. And they put it on the system. They will go and arrest the Delhi fellow. Then they will check up the house address identification. I mean, absurdity. Voting has already taken place. After that, whether you verify where he resides or not is a different matter. The bogus voting, fake voting has been used, and voting. See, this we always were saying in certain states, 7-stage elections, 5-stage elections, running into 1 month, 1.5 months, allows people to move around and go and vote anywhere.
So you're saying that having an election in multiple phases, generally the normal interpretation of this move, some people would argue, was to enable campaigning by certain star campaigners, etc., to go from one place to another. But you're saying this also enables the movement of these fake voters from one place to another. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
But isn't that a speculative kind of?
No, it's not speculative. It's possible. See. Even I don't know how to describe President Donald Trump. The other day in the press conference, he was insisting single day polling. See, Tamil Nadu, this fraud is not taking place because it is single day polling. Multi-day polling is very much possible. People moving from other state with the same epic card number, you can go out and go back. After that, you do the inquiry. See, voting has taken place, counting has taken place. Election is declared, candidate has become member of parliament and member of assembly. Then you do the inquiry, who is bothered? That is, see, now today the India's election system is under serious question, the integrity of the system. Mainly because of the extreme secrecy of the Election Commission, credibility gap, total refusal to respond to inquiries even by genuine people, even by people like us. They will not even reply. They treat us like absolutely as if we don't exist at all. So there are a lot of connected. You have to connect the dots to find out what is the purpose behind the whole thing.
So another aspect of this epic duplication which the Election Commission has sort of responded to is that different states have used the same alphanumeric series for epic. I mean, is that something which is possible? I mean, is it okay for different states to be using the same alphanumeric series? Because you did say that the first 3 letters of the alphabet of the epic number is linked to one assembly constituency. One assembly constituency is in one particular state. So how can another assembly constituency in Haryana have the same alphabets as one constituency, voters of one constituency in Bengal? How do the alphanumeric series be the same?
That's why this is I just can't understand this, because what the manual says is, what the rule says is, it has to be drawn from the electoral roll. It has to be drawn from they have the electoral roll, the entire computerized system. It has to be drawn only from that. Well, if it is not from that, how can a duplicate number come in? See, some fraud has taken place. Obviously, they have outsourced it to somebody. And see, probably, I have a feeling.
Sir, if you're saying fraud is taking place, I mean, that's an allegation. I mean, we can't get into
No, I'll tell you why. Why tell you why? Because I was also one of the strongest opponents of linking up Aadhaar with voter ID. And a law was enacted to link the Aadhaar in 2022. In spite of the fact that Supreme Court said no, Aadhaar cannot be linked with except for welfare schemes. So my own petition in the Supreme Court was admitted, order was issued, judgment in that Puttaswamy case, that you should not allow linking of Aadhaar with bank account because you can manipulate with the bank account. There was serious doubt. That'll be you are capturing property. That was the judgment given by the Supreme Court. So they clearly said, in spite of that, these fellows started saying they're voluntary. Nothing was voluntary. By the time I could get the judgment of the Supreme Court, 90% people have been terrorized to link their bank account with Aadhaar. Similarly, people were terrorized. The special scheme was brought in by the Election Commission and to link Aadhaar. See, Aadhaar is a highly porous and undependable document. Number one. Number two, voter ID is a sovereign document by the Election Commission of India through house-to-house verification by the block level officers, through counter verifications, and then only EPIC is issued. And now you have put EPIC under the supervision of Aadhaar, which has no due diligence whatsoever. They have just handed over, outsourced to some Tom, Dick, and Harry, and they just produce. They go home, sit at the home.
Are you then suggesting by linking Aadhaar with this voter electoral rolls, I mean, a person who has not been verified physically by a BLO can be issued an EPIC basis the identity as seen in the Aadhaar card? Just on Aadhaar card basis?
Absolutely. That's what seemed to be happening. Otherwise, though, there was no earthly reason, in spite of the Supreme Court's specific judgment, to link Aadhaar. Aadhaar was linked about huge opposition. They just overruled.
So could one possible explanation for this duplicate EPIC numbers be that instead of having an EPIC issued after personal verification at home of a particular address, some EPIC numbers have been issued on the basis of Aadhaar demographic details alone?
Quite possible, because you see, as I told you, Election Commission has become a secret kind of agency. Nothing is known. They are not transparent at all. They are not telling anything. Whenever there is something, they react. And they don't give a reply at all. And they drag on. And then
we are running out of time. I just have a couple of more questions to cover. Now, as per the data issued by the Trinamool, I mean, almost all the voters whose EPIC numbers duplicated in Gujarat and Haryana, their names are all Bengali Muslims. This is a fact as per the data. So if this duplication is a mistake on the part of the BLO, I mean, is it odd that all the mistakes have happened with voters from one particular community, or is it accidental because of one particular geographical area where a particular community is concentrated?
See, actually, we have to go a bit background also. Most of the deletion cases, I have did some research before going to the Supreme Court. Most of the deletions that were done without issuing notice were from the minority communities, Muslims and Christians. Christians, I had personal experience in my own constituency where I used to live in Kanyakumari in the 2019 election. Overnight, more than 35,000 Christian voters, coastal voters, they were removed. And inquiry, I talked to the...
Yes, this Kanyakumari case has been reported in the media. I mean, I have read reports.
Yeah, Hindu carried a big story.
Yes.
Big story. I know, because I talked to Kolapan. Kolapan wrote it. So, this practice has been going on, and from throughout the country, reports are coming. Wherever deletions are taking place, it is Muslim votes, or to some extent Christian votes. Wherever additions that take place, it's all Hindu votes. This trend has been taking place even there also. So in the fake epic also, this replication is possible. See, we can't say anything with surety because we do not know what is happening in the Election Commission of India. That's a problem.
Right. So, if there is a problem, as you said at the beginning, with the current system of new voter registration and voter deletion, where, for example, according to the Rule 18 of the Registration of Electors Rules 1960, the Election Commission can delete any voter's name from the electoral roll without giving that person a chance to be heard. So, is this how other countries manage their electoral rules updation? Is there something which we can learn from other countries, or is this how it is supposed to be?
I haven't really studied the other countries. Probably people who have studied will be able to answer. But India is supposed to have a robust electoral system, much better electoral system than others. That is how it used to be. We never had, during our earlier times, we never heard this kind of complaints. Only this is happening in the last 5, 6, 7 years because it is linked to the corruption of the India's electoral election system. So foreign countries, I don't think I am not competent to. I don't know. I have not studied the countries, but then proudly say that India is the one who teaches the rest of the world.
No, when you challenge this Rule 18, what is the alternative system to this Rule 18? What should we have in its place?
No, what we ask for, you take it out, unconstitutional. They must follow the procedure. Once you take it out, once in the rule, then they will follow the procedure. They will issue the notice. They will ensure that the notice is served on the person. See, what has happened is, just before the election, BJP parties, they take this Form 7 in bulk. 10,000, 20,000, 50,000. They'll keep on signing, and give it to the chief electoral officer. And they started removing at will. It happened in Shivajinagar constituency in Bangalore before the last assembly election. I was here. I was in Bangalore by that time. I knew. I was involved in this. It was exposed by the media, News Minute. I have seen what is happening in Kanyakumari myself. So what happens is, allowing this to continue in the statute books was a big mistake by the Supreme Court. They should have struck it down and then said, follow the direction of the Election Commission. They allowed the powers for deletion, and they say follow the letter. Who will follow the letter when there is a rule which is allowing them to deletion? So Supreme Court also is making serious mistakes as far as the electoral system is concerned.
Right. One last question, sir, before we wrap up. Now, you have pointed out all these issues with the way voters are issued epic numbers, the way their new voters are registered, and so on. And you also linked it with this entire black box of EVM, which has given an incentive, as you said, for these kinds of electoral roll-related alleged manipulations. Now, the Trinamool Congress has said that this is an attempt to bring in voters from outside Bengal to sort of manipulate the Bengal election. That's an allegation they've made, and they've called for an investigation. But by and large, sir, even after the Maharashtra elections, when the Congress has done some kind of a press conference on this, addition of 40 lakh voters in 6 months and so on, the opposition still, by and large, seems to be strangely tentative. I think you've spoken about this as well in taking up this issue of cleaning up the electoral system. So why do you think they have been so tentative when it's actually the political parties, the opposition, which is not only got the maximum to lose, they've also been losing, if what seems to be the case according to you has been happening?
See, the tragedy is India's political party system has not evolved on the basis of democracy. It evolved on the basis of power grabbing. Now, if you look at the two major parties, Congress party was not a political party. It has no ideology. It was a freedom movement converted into and BJP is a RSS turned kind of thing. So they have no concern for democracy. Democracy is only a commodity to be taken advantage of, to grab power. So political parties basically have no love and affection for democracy. They only want to capture power. They said, all right, whomsoever captured power, we have an opportunity. They don't address basic issues. They only address peripheral issues. Now, when their power is in danger, so I have been interacting with some political parties. they are absolutely lifeless. They're not interested. They don't have the knowledge.
But don't they
They don't
stand
have
to
any.
lose if one political party is able to sort of game the system? Doesn't the other political party gain by challenging that attempt to game the system?
They seem to feel that we should not upset the apple cart. Our chance also may come. They believe in default. By default, one day we may capture power. So we will also enjoy it. They have no commitment to democracy. They can only when they have commitment to democracy, they will fight it out. They say no, by default. Sometimes by default, see what happens in India. Sometimes people will say these fellows will be thrown out. So and so, they go and put their vote to some other. By default, they want to win the elections. They want to fight for. They don't want to fight for issues. They don't want to fight sincerely, and they don't want to fight for democracy. That's the tragedy of India's political party.
Right. I mean, so you're saying basically the reason the opposition has not been able to mount a systematic challenge to the discrepancies in the way the electoral system has been functioning, especially the issue of epic numbers, voter roll management, and so on and so forth, is to do with the fact that they are more driven by an approach or an attitude of power grabbing rather than a commitment to democratic values. That's your gloss on this entire situation. Thank you so much, Mr. Devasahayam. That's all I have for you this episode. Thank you so much once again.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
In Focus will be back soon with analysis of the biggest news issues. In the meantime, you can find our podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, and other platforms. Just search for In Focus by The Hindu. We'll see you soon.